and welcome to the podcast. My name is Dave, and for the first time ever, we're recording at Anvil, where it's Thursday before time in, and I'm joined by a couple of wonderful people, and we're going to talk about the Academy. Now, the Academy is kind of for young people, so with that in mind, we usually have quite a sweary podcast. In this event, if we do swear, I will be covering it up with noises like this.
Jumpin' jellyfish!
And so hopefully I won't, but if you do hear that, one of us has messed up. So it should be safe for parents and young people to listen to together if you wanted to learn more. So let's introduce our guests. Why don't we start with you, Claire? Who are you and what do you do?
I'm Claire Evans. I don't know what my job title is. I run the player support team at Empire, which covers all the on-field NPCs of which the Academy is part.
Yeah. And you've been on the podcast before talking about new players and things like that. This is kind of like your wheelhouse is kind of getting old people and young people into LARP, right? Or helping them facilitate them getting into the game, right?
Yes, helping them facilitate. I like to think of it as removing sources of anxiety so people can have a good time, because LARP is amazing. Yeah. And I especially think that if I was a kid and I got to go into a field with 2,000 people who were also playing pretend with me, it must be amazing. Yeah,
I'm really jealous that I'm not a 6-year-old and my parents aren't going to Anvil, basically. Yeah, Ollie, let's get you in the conversation.
So, hi everyone. I'm Ollie. I'm the current team lead for the Academy.
The Chancellor.
The Chancellor, the Provost, the head of the Academy for the moment. I guess a bit of context about me for my answers. I was with the Academy about 9 years ago as a PE teacher, and then spent a few more years as one of the egregores, and then have come back in this year to look after the Academy and manage the team that we have, which is a team of about 10 to 11 staff members.
Wow, I didn't know it was that many people. How many young people do you get going to the Academy on an event?
So usually I look before the event, but I will, conscious that my boss is next to me, I will admit that I've not looked at how many children we have this event, partly due to fear of how many there might be on a summer event. But how many do we normally get? I would say, in terms of young players at Empire, there's easily over 100. 150 was my count at the beginning of this year, and I only say that because we are officially, if you count young players, the second smallest nation. We are actually larger than the Orcs. Not all of them come to the Academy, but yes, there are more young players on the field.
So let's maybe talk about, like, what is the Academy? How do people get involved in the Academy? Who is the Academy for? These sort of things, like...
So, in terms of what is the Academy is very simply a space in Empire for young players that is staffed by PD crew, and its purpose is to bring young players into the game in a way that's appropriate for them, I guess, at its heart.
So when we were starting Empire, we talked for quite a long time about having young players at events, because sometimes it works brilliantly and sometimes it just doesn't.
Yeah.
So we talked for a long time before we made the conscious decision that we wanted young players, and we had to talk about how we wanted to incorporate them into the game, because we wanted to treat them as young people in our world rather than treat them as forced adults or discount them completely as people.
Right.
So the Academy's role in that was a big part of it, because we wanted the Academy to be somewhere where they could go and have fun and do things and learn about the game and the world, to be a part of the world. So as far as we're concerned, every citizen in the Empire has probably been a member of the Academy at one point or another, because the Academy is where you go to take your test of arms, where you go to take your citizenship test and things like that.
I think that's the key point, which is that the Academy is both an in-character and an out-of-character institution, which at first, for people maybe outside of Empire, might seem strange, that kind of blurring of the two. But it means that young players can be treated as young players and young characters, and it brings those two sides together in a way that means we can cater and support both their in-character needs or wants or interests, and also the out-of-character.
Yeah, so my interaction with the Academy as like just a normal adult player coming into the game is like, it's really cool seeing kids learn about the world, and I think that ICOC like institution idea is you have to have that when you're dealing with young people, right? But when I'm interacting with a lot of kids at Empire, they seem to know more about lore and wiki than I do as a player, and I think like the Academy's part of that, to try and hook them into a play that all the adults are involved in as well, and they can progress their way up and then join the rest of us in that game. And I think it seems to be very efficient at doing that, right?
The Academy is is every game you ever played when you were 6 and 7 years old and were making stuff up in the garden, but the adults are playing with you.
Yeah.
I'd say that, I mean, it's good to hear that you think it is efficient. It becomes more difficult as you go up the age ranges. So for the younger players, younger players, so I'm thinking under 10s or under 12s, it's quite easy to engage them in the world because they're somewhat isolated from adults and they're less interested in playing with them. As you get towards the older children, for 12, 13, 14, 15, they then become much more interested in playing with adult players and playing with those adult part of the games, and then that's where the challenge comes in finding a way to bridge the gap and get them from the academy where they've been slightly isolated and then bringing them out into the wider world.
Yeah, let's talk specifically about what should be involved, like how young can a person be and at what age they leave, and what is that kind of process that they go through from when they join like to when they effectively graduate and become a citizen.
So what I want to say first is the academy isn't a crash.
No.
You can't leave your children here. We expect all the children here to be accompanied by their responsible adult.
I think that's a massively important point. It isn't a crash. You have to be involved in this if you are a parent. It's not where you can leave your kids and wander off, right, and then go and enjoy the rest of the game. You're still very much going to be responsible and part of that process, right, I would imagine, right?
But we look at it as that you're the guardian of that child in character. It is your in character child. So coming to the academy with your child is part of your game.
And then that supervision is scaled. So talking of that progression from extremely young up to graduation and engaging with the full game as an 18-year-old, say, the supervision that's required of a 7-year-old, which is almost always and dedicated parental supervision, is very different to that of a 14-year-old, which the rules, the Empire rules, accept that 14-year-old is able to be out on the field without their direct parental supervision, as long as that parent knows where they are and they know where their parent are for limited periods of time.
If you go on the wiki page for the academy, at the bottom there's a series of links which takes you to the different age brackets and what we expect from the parents or guardians of those age brackets.
That's great.
In terms then of what's it look like? So
how old am I when I join?
Well, it honestly depends on the child, which seems like maybe an overly simplistic answer, but there are some children that show up when they're like 2, 3 and 4 who honestly are just here to play with some blocks and for their parents to have a space that is easy and catered to and provides them a place out of the rain, and it's not much more than that, and then as you get up to 5, 6, 7, 8, then more children start to become aware of the fact that this is a game within a game, and that there is this world that they can explore. There are these resources that they can sell and these potions that they can make, and that's when we start to bring them into the lessons of the academy. So potion making, arts and crafts, things that are relatively simple and you can enjoy even if you don't understand the world of the Empire.
So do you have like structured lessons then?
Yeah.
Like, do you have like leaders that go, okay, I'm going to go and teach them about like sewing? I honestly, what can you give examples of what arts and crafts would look like?
So last event's probably the best example. We made a bunch of masks for 2 festivals that were happening. One was the Festival of Flowers in Dawn. We made some paper flowers, and then one was the Feast of Zoria in Varushka. So they are at their heart making masks and making flowers, which all young children enjoy doing,
and some adults,
but those children who are a little bit more mature, a little bit more understanding of the world, have a way to then bring that in character into the game. They understand that they're making this for the virtues, and now they understand that squirrels are linked to, I honestly don't know what Varushkan virtue they're linked to, but you hopefully get my point, that it provides a way for them to start to get involved in the game.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You try very hard to theme the crafts at least loosely around whatever is special with that festival. Though I think they're making butterflies tomorrow night, Saturday, and I have no idea what those are for.
I will profess ignorance to that. It might just be because we like butterflies. The other key thing, a bit of a tangent, but this is one for the parents because it's one that I've spoken with some parents about over the past few months, is also an attempt to have the parents able to engage in the game in an icy way whilst looking after their children. A number of parents have said to me they find it very difficult to role play next to their child because they are still looking after that child, and they don't necessarily need the academy to be a space that provides them role play, but a space where they can just exist within the IC world. So making flowers that are linked to a Dornish festival provides them an easy way and a welcome way to still be part of the world whilst having some very big OC care responsibilities.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So how about 6, 7, 8, you're kind of doing these arts and crafts, they're kind of themed, you're learning about the game. So what kind of progresses as that goes on?
So then you get to 9, 10, or 8, 9, 10, which is when generally the young players start to understand more about the field, they understand the nations, they understand generally that they're playing a character, and that's the point at which we start to teach them a little bit more about the game, and look for them to take what we call their test of citizenship, which is effectively a sit-down talk with myself or one of the other staff members, and it asks them about the Empire. It asks them some basic questions about the virtues and the nations, and really it's trying to determine and confirm that they understand how to exist within a role-playing game, and that they can engage with an adult as a character and in an in-character sense. That's all that it's really meant to be, and what it does is it then gives them access to resources and skills, so they can.
Is this verbal as well? Like,
yes,
this is a verbal interview.
Yeah,
that's very important. Like, I mean, I'm dyslexic, so I'm sure that people are listening are worried about their kids being dyslexic as well and struggling with that sort of stuff. So, and I'm looking at a lot of shaking heads and a lot of
yeah. So it's 100% verbal, and we also have a number of parents. I always put it out there because many of them do come to us to say that. Is that we also have a number of children who have particular processing needs, whether that's ADHD or ADD, or ways that they find a sit-down formal interview quite nerve-wracking, and so we're more than happy to then bring that into it and find a way to, I suppose, de-stress it and make it more of a conversation.
Because what we want out of it is to have people starting to play the game who enjoy playing the game. We don't want to start it off with a sit-down 3-hour exam.
I mean,
and a stressful interview.
We could talk about this in like a general education terms, though, right? Like, it's like you want to. I speak personally. I'm sure this is everyone else that's listening. When you're engaged and you're enjoying what you're doing, learning is easy. It's only hard when you're being forced to or feel like you're being pressured into it, right? So there's some elements to this which is kind of like, if you make play of it, then engaging in these things are really, really good. And one of the aspects that I like about the idea of the Academy is I've gained a lot from RP. And giving that like as a tool set to kids and learning how to interact with that in a responsible way sounds great. Like, I genuinely wish that I had had parents that took me to Empire, right, and took me to the Academy. I could learn about it. So we've done our 8, 9, 10-year-olds. I'm really curious about what happens after that, because there's a really formative years. Some things are cool, some things are not cool. Like, how are you engaging young people at that age, you know?
The cadets.
Yeah, so, and I feel like I should say at this point that Claire can absolutely jump in at any point, but I've realised that I actually have quite a lot to say, which I didn't think I would when starting this podcast.
I was confident you did.
So, do jump in and stop me if required. So, from 11 upwards, it's really hard, because at that point, young players start to want to engage with the game on their own terms, and there's a little bit of too cool for school.
I don't know if you knew this, but I used to be a brownie leader.
Oh.
Did you know?
No, I did not. No.
I used to be a brownie leader. So the brownies are 6 to 10, and when they get to sort of 10, you can see that they're getting a bit too cool for brownies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. So at 11, we've got our cadets, which is effectively our young players who have fought a little bit at the Academy, done some of our fight sessions, and we're happy can go out on a skirmish.
Let's talk about fight sessions for young people. What does that involve? Like, talking about like the process.
Honestly, not much more complex than we have some PE teachers, and we take the children either out the back of the academy or out in Dawn. Often we have a bunch of weapons available to young players, and we just teach them how to fight safely. It isn't about teaching them how to fight brilliantly or being the best, fastest fighter in the West. It's just about can they fight safely, and we run those for pretty much any age. That's awesome. As long as you can pick up a sword.
That must be amazing to watch.
It's absolutely, it's the way to burn all the energy out of them on a Saturday morning.
Amazing. Yeah.
So those that have done that for a little bit, they get to join the cadets, which is effectively our fighting force, which we started back when I was a PE teacher a while ago. And what that means is we try to put on at least once an event a dedicated adventure for them, a dedicated quest, which accepts that they can't battle, they can't go on adult quests, but they can fight some monster crew in an appropriate IC scenario and have a good fight, and it tends to go down well.
Yeah, so the cadets quest is written sometimes by Academy staff, sometimes by one of our main plot writing team. anybody who has a good idea, and it's tied to something. I know they've done tests of honour with the Jotun Academy, haven't they?
So that's a classic one. I very much enjoyed that, where we got to basically do a sports day against the Jotun Orcs. We had a load of young 11-year-olds against 11-year-old Orcs, and they had a big fight. And then went home, and then we did that a few times. And
that sounds amazing. That sounds so cool.
Sometimes it's a caravan of merchants that get attacked, and we need to go save them. It's your Saturday morning. I'd see it as your Saturday morning cartoon. Adventure, effectively. And that bridges the gap from 11 to 14. That's our cadet range, effectively. And all we'd ask is that those interested do show up to the academy and just give us an understanding before the adventure itself that they're safe to fight, because at the end of the day they're still going to fight monster crew who don't deserve to be,
the monster crew do know what they're going into, though.
They do. No,
and
you're right.
They love it as well. So I don't spend.
I love it.
They absolutely love it.
Those savages, those absolute savages. Anyway, I won't talk anymore
Boogers.
about the crew in case they. I swore that would be an Icarumba probably. We'll see, but they're great. I want to touch on one thing in case I forget to bring it up. But the orc brief and children is really, really cool. How I think there's a bit in there about how nice they are to kids or something.
How nice are kids to orcs?
The kids tend to be very fascinated about orcs. They become very interested by them. And the orcs generally, all of the orc players are really good with them. We regularly get orcs down for the test of arms on a Friday to fight against.
So, what is the test of arms? Just to get a definition of that.
So, I guess it's a natural move on. So you've got the cadets, and then at 14. So to start with, 16 plus is the age that people can fight on the battlefield at Empire without any test or qualification.
When we talk about young players, we're talking about 16 and below.
Yeah, and that's probably a useful thing to say, that anyone 16 and above, please, you're welcome to come along to the academy, but you are a full player, at an Empire. So the test of arms was a way for us to acknowledge the fact that there are young players under 16 who are fully capable of fighting on the battlefield. So from 14 upwards, so for those 2 years, you can take the test of arms, which is effectively a fight test at the back of the academy. Often involves fighting against 6 or 7 orcs, and it's testing that you can fight safely, which you hopefully have learned whilst being at the academy or through parents, whatever. It's testing that you're not going to panic in a mass combat, which is the real thing. One-on-one is fine, but as a 14-year-old. You are smaller usually than adults.
It's a big jump to go from playing in the academy to.
I'm an adult and I can find the battles very intense, right? It's and there's no I'm assuming that there are things that you learn as a player to not engage with two things that are intense, right? Like if you're not in the mood for that day, then you learn, I'm probably not going to go for that giant crush, right? Whereas if you're a young player, you might feel compelled to go and do the things, which might get you in pretty stressful situations, I would imagine.
And it's also, there's an element when we talked about the test of arms, about protecting, not protecting, but bearing in mind adult players who are on the battlefield. And if I am an adult player in full plate, and I'm weighing 120, 130 kilos with it all on, then if I fall on a 12-year-old, it's a very different experience, and it's a very different set of consequences than falling on an adult. So that's what the test of arms is for. Sure. It's not long. It's not meant to be hugely complex. It's, can you fight safely, and are you mentally happy in a somewhat stressful combat situation?
Yeah, I shouldn't say I should caveat that with it's not it's not stressful all the time. A lot of the time, if you can go out there and pretty much mooch for an entire battle if you wanted to, right?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. There's no need to get in.
There's no requirement for you to be in intense.
I feel that if it wasn't stressful occasionally, we aren't doing them right.
Well, I mean, depends. I'm kind of non-comming at the moment. I was just can I tag along to a battle and see how I get on? And I was like, no, I want to RP if I'm going to do it, right? But yeah, I think the ability level is vast at Empire. I know people that are marathon running sword scholars who live and breathe understanding techniques on how to fight, right? And this goes all the way to people who I've got good friends of mine who struggle with their weight, who don't exercise, who eat badly and do all this stuff like this, and this isn't calling anyone out, but there's a place for you in Empire battles for sure. It's pretty although you can get dead, is one of the things. But like,
what you're saying is exactly why we started running the new player skirmish, because it's not just our young players who may have never been in a battle.
Yeah.
And that's why we run things like our new player skirmish for the adult new players to go to.
Yeah.
So because
it's very intimidating.
It's hard to explain a battle until you've been in a battle.
Yeah.
Because most of us, get to grown-ups without punching people or being hit.
Very much so. I've spent most of my adult life trying to avoid that.
Exactly, and then all of a sudden...
Yeah, I think it's like the... one thing I've realised is, it doesn't matter on your ability, and a lot of players look at their ability as the reason why they can fight or can't fight, or do something... And this is actually game-wide, actually. This isn't just fighting. But the reality is, your own mind and your own version of yourself is telling you an awful lot of information, and Empire is pretty open to whatever it is. If you're like me, having medical problems, or if you're having confidence problems, a lot of this stuff is go do it, and you'll be stunned at how well you'll get on, right? And I think this is part of the academy, which is why I wanted to record this episode. Is my friend's got a 6-year-old, and she loves Empire, right? She's talking about Empire when Empire isn't on. She's talking about when I can go next. When can I have another knife fight with Uncle Gellert, right? And I know it sounds terrible, right? But doing it in a really safe, responsible way where it's fun and empowering, and teaching someone you can be more than what you think you are, and experience different things and change that mask to enjoy RP, right? It's, I don't know, I think it's great what you do, basically, yeah.
Thanks. I mean, it's very much a collaborative thing. So, we have quite a large staff who are very good at what they do. So, it would be remiss of me not to say thank you to them for that.
The academy staff are fantastic across the board.
It's a team effort.
Every event they have to come up with new ideas and new lessons, and for those to be fun and relevant, they just do fantastically. It's a job I could do it for an event, and then I'd be out of ideas.
I'd like to kind of just dive back into what it looks like to be a young player from 11 upwards, not on the combat side.
Yes,
so I realise that we spoke quite a lot about cadets and the test of arms, but there's equally the difficulty or the challenge of engaging a young player who from 11 upwards is trying to engage with the game, but isn't a fighter, isn't interested in fighting, and so we're trying to push that more. We're trying to develop that more, and what that looks like is more complex or more involved lessons about the key institutions of the Empire. So whether that's a session talking with players about Eternals, whether that is a visit to the Anvil Hospital, a trading session, which I think I'm going to take some people around on Sunday to go, because we need some resources for some items, and Senate, trying to institute a student council, which we had before the Long Dark, which was quite involved, and we're looking to bring that back, where students can get together. They're given some resources and some money from the coffers, and it's up to them what they do with it, and how they wish to use it. So whether that's making items for the cadets, whether that's supporting Senate motions, very much up to them.
I don't know if you were in the academy then, but I once watched the students in the Senate with Harry, John Mead, and they were arguing for and against pocket money.
No, I don't remember that, but I can imagine that they all said yes.
I would imagine resoundingly yes to pocket money.
Whether sweets should be free. And it was absolutely fantastic, because obviously they all thought they were, and then they started thinking about the people who sell the sweets. And it was fantastic watch them go through the thought processes and what should be right and what should be wrong. And in the end, they came down to that you should pay for sweets.
Wow. They're better than most of the adults, I would say, because I think if adults got to vote, there would be free sweets, and sellers.
And all of those elements are very much optional as well. I think it's important to say for parents and young players listening, this isn't you need to show up Friday at 6 p.m. And attend a mandated, regimented list of lessons. It's not school. Please do show up on the Friday so we can see you. We know how many young players we have, and you know what we're running. But then, pick and choose. What are your interests, and what do you want to do, so that you also have space to go and explore the field by yourself. If you're interested in a lesson on Saturday, come Saturday morning, and then.
I imagine it's a good place for young people to make friends as well, right? Like, we're missing like a really obvious part of this, which is young people interacting with young people, right? Like, I'm sure it's a really wonderful way to meet a whole bunch of new people that are pretty diverse, I would imagine, for the uptake that Anvil has.
You see it, because I don't spend a great deal of time in the academy during the event. I usually drop in to check that nothing's on fire and everybody's okay. It hasn't been on fire yet, I should clarify. And you see quite a lot of your students who have graduated come back to visit.
Yes, and in fact some of them are now on the staff helping out, which is really good to see. The other thing is it's been very noticeable this year watching that develop, because before the 2-year break, all of those young players had their friends. They had the people that they knew, that they show up every event, and we didn't really have to do a lot because they'd show up, they'd make their friends, they knew what they wanted to do, and they'd say, please give us this, that and the other, and then run away and do it. But then that stopped, and for many of them that was 2 years of not seeing those people because they don't live nearby. In fact, exactly like us as adults, right? So all these friends you have who you don't see for 2 years. And then event 1, we got loads of new young players who didn't have those connections, and E1 was very noticeable where actually it was a lot of young players stood in corners, first day of school, a little bit unsure, and it required a bit more input. But actually then event 2 came around, and it was, hello, how are you? So good to see you again. And I expect it will be exactly even more so this event. Yeah. And so this year, you can see visibly those connections being made.
If it's anything like, and it's like the academy probably mirrors the rest of the game as well, right? Because what you're describing there is very much like what I saw around the field, right?
Oh, yeah,
like,
of course, yeah.
But the bonds that you can build very fast at Empire is great, right? Like, and you have the same thing with the academy where you can set up really firm friendships, even if they are just for 4 times a year, and kids will really enjoy, right, and really find rewarding.
You did. You came back.
Yes, yeah, I did. Yeah, I came back. I left for a little while and came back, and then I had one of our young players break my heart when she said, "Oh, you abandoned us for 3 years," because I went over to the Egregore team.
Ollie, you're an easy guy to fall in love with. So,
made me feel terribly bad.
I think that's totally valid, and you should feel bad about that. Anvil is encroaching in on us.
You can hear it getting closer.
Yeah. Is there anything more that like? Is there anything that we've missed that you kind of want to talk about, like that we can kind of like you want to just talk about with the academy that we maybe haven't touched on yet?
I think what I would say 2 things. One is kind of off the back of that 2-year break comment is a lot of what the academy used to be. It still is, but we're developing and trying to develop and get back into the rhythm of things, and they're very much open and welcome ideas and feedback and thoughts and contributions from parents. So if you do have, whether that's parents or young players, ideas, then please email in, talk to us, and we can keep building it better and better and getting back into that rhythm.
I like this as an institution though, because the idea of like that's one of the good things about LARPers in general. We're very good at adapting and changing and feeding on what's actually happening and making action to make stuff better, right? Like, I'm sure the academy 5 years ago, 6 years ago is not as good as it is today, right? Like, I always get this improvement at Empire that people are generally learning and trying to improve things, right?
Yeah, I'd say they're definitely trying to improve things. I'm not going to comment on whether it's better or not than before because my old chancellor was
Ollie. If you're in charge, hey,
and the
what ex-chancellor? Like
the second thing that I would say is a message for the players not in the academy, so the characters outside of the academy, which is to please engage with us and engage with the characters here, the young players here and the adults here. We are an IC institution. We have money, we have funds, we have interests and agendas.
You have money.
Yeah, exactly. That always. But the more that you engage with us, the better it is for us. But it's also the better it is for adult characters.
The academy
as well.
exists as part of the world, not as a bubble attached to it.
I think that would be my spiel over.
I should think about this when it comes to Jarmish relations as their ambassador, as the ambassador to Jarm.
How much do they know about Jarm?
Probably not a good idea to talk to kids about Jarm, but.
Yeah, but you know what?
Hey, give me a couple of years and I'll sort it out.
But you've had people run lectures and things like that, haven't you?
Yeah. So we've had players come in and run lessons, or we've had archmages come in and talk about Eternals, and that's something that is always good to see, and we're happy to support because it makes our lives.
Do you know what? I'll think about it, but I think I would really like to do something on diplomacy with them. It would be really fun.
Yeah.
Come up with a hypothetical, right, and play around with it and being like, is this... Because basically my whole thing as an ambassador is... Things seem simple. Oh, actually, it's way more complicated, right? Like, and that's pretty much my job as ambassador, to try and explain the complicated to people. So, yeah, interesting. Claire, let's see.
I was going to say, I remember the delight on the previous Chancellor's face when somebody came in and offered to teach lockpicking classes.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I'd totally take that.
I would
That's
absolutely. Let me know when that's
really
happening,
good.
because I'm up for it.
That had, I also liked the notice board outside one day, which had a class on poisons at 2:00 and a class with the magistrates at 3:00.
That's amazing. Yeah, we usually... First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about the Academy. It's been something that's, like I said earlier, I wanted to talk about for a long time, and it's such a... Like, as a player, it's so wonderful seeing kids engage with the game and kind of, like, learn really valuable life skills from, that I just think it's, like, you're doing great work. Is there anything... we usually do end things with a call and response. So for Navarre, it would be like Strength of the Empire, Strength of Navarre. Is there like a... Is there a Academy version of that?
That's put you on the spot.
That has put me on the spot, and I feel like if my staff were here, they'd be yelling at me because they'd know what it was. But I'll be honest, I don't. So I might have to come back to you on that one.
I think if you haven't got one, you need one by the end of the weekend.
So there is the tagline on our old shirts, which is the heroes are not born, they're forged in the fires of Anvil.
I think that'll do. Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to our patrons, and we'll do this all again soon with some random topic that I happen to pick. Bye bye.